Hey friend, please subscribe and like the video. 1 second for you, big deal for me. My name is Rebecca Collins. I'm 55 years old, and for most of my life I believed I was my mother's favorite. She used to say, "You're the steady one, Becca, the one I can count on." And I was. I took care of her after my father passed, drove her to every appointment, fixed the leaky roof, even paid half the taxes when her pension wasn't enough. My brother Ethan? He drifted, 1 year in Florida, the next in California, always chasing a new start, always calling only when he needed money. But somehow, whenever he came back home, Mom's eyes softened, her voice got warm, and I, the dependable one, faded into the wallpaper again. When she passed last March, I was the one holding her hand. Ethan arrived 2 days later, sunburned, wearing sunglasses indoors. The funeral was quiet, simple, just like she would have wanted. But what came after? I wasn't prepared for that. A week later, I got a call from Mom's lawyer, Mr. Turner, asking both of us to come in for the reading of her will. I didn't expect surprises. I assumed she'd split things evenly, maybe give me the house since I'd lived nearby and cared for it for years. The morning of the reading, it was raining. That gray kind of rain that doesn't pour, just lingers like a cold breath on your skin. I arrived early, clutching the old umbrella she'd once kept in her car. Ethan strolled in 10 minutes late, smelling faintly of whiskey and cologne. Mr. Turner cleared his throat, adjusted his glasses, and began. "To my daughter, Rebecca, I leave my grandmother's jewelry collection and my gratitude for her years of care." He paused. "To my son, Ethan, I leave the family home and all remaining estate assets." The words didn't sink in right away. I just stared at him, my heart thudding, waiting for a correction, a missing clause, a misread line. But there wasn't one. Ethan looked as shocked as I did at first. Then slowly, a smirk began to tug at his mouth. Mr. Turner continued reading in that steady, neutral voice that made it worse. When he finished, he closed the folder gently, like sealing a coffin. I heard myself ask, "There must be a mistake. She always said the house would be mine." He shook his head. "Your mother was very clear in her instructions." Ethan leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "Guess she finally forgave me," he said softly. I felt heat rise in my chest, confusion, betrayal, disbelief all at once. That night I couldn't sleep. The house I'd kept standing through storms and leaks, the garden I'd planted for her every spring, it wasn't mine anymore. And worse, the message was clear. In her final act, my mother had chosen the son who left over the daughter who stayed. For days after the will reading, I moved through my house like a ghost. Every object had a story: the clock Mom gave me when I turned 30, the quilt she made after Dad died, even the chipped mug she used to drink tea from every morning. I couldn't understand how someone who shared so much life with me could erase me with one signature. Ethan didn't call, not once. 2 weeks later, he showed up unannounced, pulled into my driveway in a rented truck, wearing sunglasses again, chewing gum like a teenager. He leaned against the door frame, hands in his pockets. "Look, Becca, I know this is awkward, but we've got to figure out what's next with Mom's place. I'm thinking of selling." Selling. That word cracked something deep in me. I had spent half my adult life keeping that house standing, mowing the lawn, repainting the porch, fixing pipes, and now it was a real estate listing to him. "You can't just sell it," I said quietly. "It's our home." He shrugged. "Correction, it's mine. But I'll give you time to get her stuff out, a few weeks, maybe." He smiled, but there was something hollow behind it. Then he said, almost casually, "Mom told me you'd understand." That stopped me cold. "What do you mean?" He frowned, clearly uncomfortable. "She said she had her reasons, that I'd need it more than you would." I stared at him. "And you believe that?" He looked away. "Yeah, maybe for once she was right." He left soon after, slamming the door behind him. The silence he left behind was suffocating. That night I drove to Mom's house, my house for so long, and unlocked the door with the key she'd given me 20 years ago. It still smelled faintly of her lavender soap. The light in the hallway flickered just like it always did. In the living room, I stood there for a long time listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the faint ticking of the old mantel clock. Everything looked frozen in time, except for one thing. On the mantel was a photograph I had never seen before. It was of Mom and Ethan. He must have been about 10, missing one front tooth, his arm wrapped around her shoulders. They both looked so happy. But behind them, in the corner of the frame, I saw myself, blurred, half out of the picture, holding a tray of lemonade, looking at them from a distance. It wasn't staged, but it said everything. I sat on the couch and cried for the first time since the will reading, not loud sobs, just silent tears that wouldn't stop. Not for the house, not even for the betrayal, but for the years I'd spent trying to earn a love that maybe had always belonged to someone else. When I finally stood up, I noticed something under the coffee table, a small sealed envelope with my name written in her handwriting. My breath caught. For a moment, I just stared at it, afraid to open it, but my hands moved on their own. Inside was a short letter. The paper was thin, folded neatly, the ink slightly smudged, like she had written it in a hurry. "My dearest Becca, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I know you might not understand my choices right now, but please believe me, they were not about love. Ethan has always been lost. I feared that without something grounding him, he would drift away completely. The house was never just a house. It was a chance for him to stay tethered to this world. You, my steady girl, have already built your own foundation. I didn't give him the home because he deserved it more. I gave it to him because I know you'll survive without it. Please forgive me." Mom. I sat there for a long time, the letter trembling in my hands. And for the first time, I didn't know if I was angry or heartbroken. The letter sat on my lap all night. I must have read it a dozen times, each line cutting in a different place. It wasn't just the words. It was what they revealed. That even in her last act, Mom was still trying to protect Ethan, still trying to fix what could never be fixed. By morning, the rain had stopped. The house looked softer in the light, almost forgiving, but I wasn't ready to forgive yet. That afternoon, Ethan called again. His tone was half apologetic, half defensive. "Look, Becca, I'm not trying to hurt you. Mom just wanted what's best. She said you'd understand." I almost hung up, but something in me needed answers. "Meet me at the house," I said. "Tomorrow." When he arrived, he looked uneasy. No sunglasses this time, just tired. We sat across from each other at Mom's old kitchen table. The smell of her cinnamon candles still lingered. "Why'd she do it?" I asked. He shrugged. "You saw the letter." "That's not an answer." He hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. "You think I don't feel guilty? You think I wanted this? Then give it up." "I can't. I've got debt, Becca. Real debt. Mom knew that." His voice cracked slightly, the first real emotion I'd heard from him in years. "She thought the house would save me," he said, "but she didn't know it's already too late." He told me everything then. The failed business, the loans, the eviction notices, how he'd shown up only because he had nowhere else to go. I listened, my anger fading into something heavier, exhaustion. "You could have told me," I said quietly. "Would you have helped me?" I didn't answer, because deep down, I didn't know. When he left that night, I didn't feel closure, just a strange, hollow calm, but something in his story didn't sit right. The next morning, I went back to see Mr. Turner, the lawyer. When I asked him if the will had been updated recently, he nodded. 6 months before she passed. She came alone. Did she seem pressured? He frowned. Not at all. But she did ask a lot of questions about how quickly it could be filed. On my way out, he handed me a copy of a notarized note attached to the will, something I hadn't seen before. It read, "I want this done immediately. I need to make sure Ethan keeps the house. Please don't contact Rebecca until it's finalized." The date caught my eye. It was written just a week after Ethan's last visit home. I remember that visit vividly now. He'd stayed with Mom for 3 days. They'd gone on long drives. She said he was finally getting his life together. But now, I wasn't sure. That night I called him. "Ethan," I said, my voice steady, "did you ask Mom to change the will?" The silence that followed was deafening. Then, barely audible, "She wanted to help me." "That's not what I asked." He sighed, and the sound was heavy, defeated. "I told her I'd lose everything. She couldn't handle the thought of me being homeless. I didn't ask, Becca. I just let her believe she could fix it." Something inside me broke then, not from betrayal, but from recognition, because I finally saw it. Mom hadn't chosen him over me. She had chosen her guilt over truth. And I had spent years trying to earn a love that was already twisted by her need to save him. The next few days felt like standing between two versions of the same past, the one I remembered and the one my mother left behind. Her letter kept echoing in my head. "You'll survive without it." Maybe she was right, but surviving and being at peace aren't the same thing. A week later, Ethan called again. His voice was small, almost frightened. "Becca, I can't keep it. The bills, the repairs, it's too much. I thought selling it would help, but no one's offering what it's worth." I could almost hear the walls crumbling behind his words, both of the house and of the illusion he'd been living in. For the first time, I didn't feel anger, just clarity. "Then maybe it's time you stop trying to be saved," I said gently. He was quiet for a long time before whispering, "You sound just like her." That made me smile faintly. Maybe I finally understand her. That weekend, I drove to the house one last time. The sky was clear, the air cool, the world strangely calm. I walked through every room, touching the walls, the window frames, the worn wood floors that still creaked in the same places. In the kitchen, I set Mom's letter on the counter, folded neatly beside a set of keys. Then I took one last look around and whispered, "You were wrong, Mom. I didn't survive without this house. I grew without it." Outside, Ethan was waiting by his car. He looked older, smaller somehow. "You're really walking away?" he asked. I nodded. "Mom left it to you for a reason. Keep it, or lose it. That's your story now." He swallowed hard. "I never meant for it to go like this." "I know," I said softly. "But sometimes love isn't about fixing people. It's about letting them learn who they are without the safety net." Then I turned and walked to my car. For the first time in months, I didn't look back. That night I went home, to my small, quiet apartment with its creaky heater and mismatched furniture, and made a cup of tea. I sat by the window, watching the lights of town shimmer in the distance. It wasn't the house that held my peace. It was me. I realized that my mother's final gift wasn't what she left behind. It was what she forced me to confront. That love can be imperfect and still real. That forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and that letting go when done with dignity can be the loudest kind of strength. If you're still listening, maybe you've been there too. Maybe someone you love made a choice that felt like betrayal, but was, in its own way, a desperate act of love. Maybe you've carried that wound, waiting for an apology that will never come. Here's what I learned. You don't need to wait. You can build peace from what's left, even if it's just ashes and memory. Because the truth is, survival is just the beginning. Learning to live again, that's where freedom starts.